Hello and welcome to Laurindalandia. Today I'm going to do reading about what do people assume about you when they first meet you. You can choose your pile by following your intuition. It can be the pile that you're most visually attracted to, or you can even ask in your mind, what is a pile for me? I do have personal readings. They are super affordable and they're my first link in description. Hello, pile one. So you chose this card that says, I set myself free from the past with ease. And it came in reverse. Something that people assume about you when they first meet you is that you are maybe stuck to someone or something of the past. Maybe you are still thinking about the next that you have not forget, or maybe you are still thinking about the situation, like a family situation or a difficult experience from your past. I think this happens because when they look at you, you might have a bit of a, I'm getting sad air, not sad air, more of like a sad face. I think your face, and I think this happens unconsciously, I think your face might have quote unquote sad characteristics in the sense that you might have something in your face that's kind of denotes that you cry a lot. And hey, crying doesn't mean that you are sad, right? I don't claim that narrative that crying equals sadness. For me, I cry a lot. And yeah, for me, crying doesn't mean like a bad life or even a sad life. But there is like an error or some sort of like lines on your face, or like something about the way that you look. Might, like, people assume that you cry a lot. And imagine, I don't think you are stuck to your past. I think in reality, yes, like, you probably have been through a lot and life is difficult, and that's not your fault, right? Like, you didn't deserve the treatment that you got, right? And it's not your fault that you are just doing the best that you can with the cards that you were handled. Yeah, that's the thing. I think, like, in reality, you are actually doing a great job to do with your life what you could with the cards that you were handled. But I think first people don't see that way. I think people are also lack the emotional depth to not take things so black and white. I think people lack nuance in a lot of ways, and the emotional capacity to see you in a more deep way. I think it takes time for them to get to know you and get to know what you've been through and all of the difficulties that you had to experience to understand that actually you're not sad, you're very strong and very resilient, and actually you made a lot with very little. And I don't think these people could ever do that, the same thing that you did. And I think that's what they think about after they get to know you. They're like, whoa, I could never like make it out of that situation. I could never make that, overcome the situation. But at first, I think people just have like this internal bias, right? They also view things very black and white, or like they lack nuance to fully understand you at first. Another random message that I got is that they might, when people first look at you, they assume that you have kind of a unique fashion style, like retro vibes, vintage, 70s, 80s. They might look at you and assume that you have very unique fashion. And they actually, this is something that they like. They really like this assumption, I guess. Like, when they look at you, they imagine you almost in all these outfits that are very retro, vintage, 70s, 80s, 50s, like a fashion that is inspired by the past, but is very unique and very cool. What do people assume about my pal number one when they first meet them? Yeah, they assume that you are also like a very stable person. There is something about you that gives off a very stable air. Like, maybe you're not erratic, or that's not how you come across. Like there's something about you, for example, these people are looking at people like if they are maybe more agitated or more erratic or, are bouncing from place to place, they see that as unstable. But someone that maybe is more calm, more like I'm also seeing someone walking slow. So you might like walk slower, and people assume this as, yeah, that you are a stable person. They assume that you have a good home, like that you live in a good place, that your own life is stable, that your life is stable, because the way that you act, it comes across as very stable. I'm getting like someone that maybe is not hyperactive, that is like, is not that they have less energy, but they look like they have less energy. And I think this comes along with a sadness. People might assume that you're going through a hard time because you are not hyperactive, basically, because you are not like overextending yourself and you're not like super going from place to place and have a lot of energy in your body. I think, of course, you do have energy in your body, but you might not like to just, not might be your style to be hyperactive, right? And people, like, I think they assume that not being hyperactive and being more calm and grounded is because you're going through something, which it's not me they saying this, but one, I'm like being put in these people's shoes, which like is weird. Like I'm seeing life through their eyes, and it's a bit strange for me to perceive people that way, right? Yeah, but I think these people assume that because maybe you're, yeah, like are not hyperactive and hyper energetic, are not always like running around, that you're going through something. Like they might even assume that you're going through depression. Like they might assume that you're going for a hard time because you are more grounded. Maybe you walk slower. Maybe you don't scream. Like maybe, yeah, you just take life day by day. And I think there is a lot of lessons to learn from that. I think people could learn a valuable lesson from you, that is to calm down, to take life slower, to take life more day by day, that you don't need to be running around. There is no need to be running around. You might live in a warmer place. This is not for everyone, but for some of you, you might live in a warmer place where, I'm not saying super warm, but like warmer in a sense, where there is this vibe that people are always running around. Or you might live in the big city. That might be it. There might be something here culturally that everyone is like walking around, like rowing around, and that everyone is always busy, like that everyone is always going. Pa, 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 pa. Can be, for example, I'm getting New York, like a type of. You might live in a city or country where a very busy lifestyle is the status quo, is the normal. So when somebody is not running around everywhere, when somebody is taking it slower, they might think they are going through something because the quote unquote normal is to always be busy, busy, running around. What do people assume about my plan number one when they first meet them? They assume that you got like your eye on something, like they assume that you have bigger plans, that you're thinking about maybe traveling or starting something new, starting a new business. Like they might think that you have your mind like focused on something different, that you are like, yeah, like in the background working on something or planning on how to do something. They assume also, interesting message, they assume that you also are going through a transformation in your life, and I think this comes back to the assumption of sadness. They might think that you are going through this maybe more reflective time, and maybe a time of a bit of depression, like of time of healing. That's it. Like they assume that you're going through a time of healing that has something to do with your confidence. Like they assume that you are healing a wound of insecurity. Yes, they are assuming that you are healing maybe some past trauma or some limiting beliefs about your self-worth. Interesting. These are very interesting assumptions, right? And I'm like, why? It's so specific what people assume. But I'm getting, they assume this because of something about body posture, like it's not the way that you look necessarily. It's like something about the way that you walk and your body posture. Maybe you are even someone that I'm saying this and I have it, right? That maybe, for example, your back is not like the straightest, like who has a straight back nowadays, right? We all have our back not in the best shape. But maybe, for example, your shoulders are more to the center of your body, right? They're not as open in a sense. You might even be someone that here, what happens a lot with tall people is that they usually have a tendency to, yeah, shoulders more to the center of their body and to like slower their head because of being so tall, they like don't have a straight back, right? There is something here about your body posture that gives to these people, yeah, some sort of maybe you are healing from a wound of not being good enough. And I think maybe, yeah, we all have bad posture, really. Like, nobody has good posture anymore. And this can be just due to, I don't know, working in the computer, like, day to day. Like, it's hard to have a good posture nowadays, right? But there is something, yeah, this is about body language. This is very visual. This is before they even, like, talk to you very deeply. I think this is a perception for someone, for example, that is watching you kind of from afar and they're trying to approach you and they're kind of examining you before they approach you. Like they're kind of, yeah, taking their assumptions. And remember, how people view you has nothing to do with you and everything to do with themselves. This is just a reflection of them, really. At the end of the day, it has nothing to do with you, right? And they are making like assumption based on your body language, and this is what they assume, that you're going through a healing time, healing from a wound of insecurity. What do people assume about my partner when they meet them? Yeah, they really assume, this is, wow, such an interesting assumption. They really assume that, like, you're not fighting anymore. Like, they also assume that, for example, you're not going to be a combative person, not because you're going to people please, but you're just not going to have the energy to deal with someone that just brings problems. They really assume that you're not in a stage of life to deal with other people's BS. If they come with pettiness, if they come with things that don't matter, like if they're just causing drama to cause drama, you're like, bro, no, I don't have the energy for this. I don't care. Like, they really assume that right now you're going maybe through a healing period and you are healing and all your energy is focused on that, and maybe you don't have more energy to give to people, to give to petty drama. Right now it needs to be straightforward. And I think people at first might even, for example, accommodate to you, like trying to not bother you as much, like going to you if they think it's really necessary, like not trying to put too much on your plate, not trying to overstimulate you, not trying to, yeah, put too much on you, not try to push you too hard, because they assume that right now you don't have the time for it, you don't have the energy, you don't care. Let me know down in the comments if you resonate with this message. If you like this video, give it a like. And if you like this reading, subscribe. I do have personal readings. I have my first link in the description and they are super affordable. Bye, pile one. Hello, pile two. So you chose this card that says, I appreciate others for who they are. What people assume when they first meet you is that you are actually a very accepting and open person. They assume that you are very like, that you accept people that are different from you, like you accept different cultures, you accept diversity, like you're actually interested and curious in diversity and people that are different from you. They actually see you as a very like, when they first meet you, as a very like loving and accepting person that is kind of the opposite of judgmental. Like he's just a very open, loving person, like willing to get to know them, like non-judgmental, like, yeah, imagine this is a good assumption, pile too. However, I think in another side of this, I think people take your kindness for weakness because your first assumption is that you are very kind. But these people might not realize that kindness is a strength. I think these people perceive kindness as a weakness, and they look at you and think, I'm going to be able to take advantage of her. Okay, they might be a female presenting person, but okay, I'm going to be able to take advantage of them, right? Bro, no, no, no. Like, I'm getting this as those flowers that eat flies. You feel me? Those flowers that do this and eat like carnivorous flowers. You feel me? It's like, you are a flower, yes, but you have a bite. Don't try me. And almost like there is a luring aspect to you. I think people also assume that you're very, and when they first meet you, very alluring, like you attract a lot of people. Because again, you are giving this very open energy. You're not chasing people, people are coming to you because you are this beautiful flower. Also, you might be very beautiful here, very beautiful. And like people assume, okay, they are beautiful, like they seem so friendly, so open-minded, so kind. Like, yeah, people really underestimate you. They underestimate your bite. I don't think, Imagine, I don't think you are mean to people, but nobody's going to cross you. Because the moment they cross you, like I'm getting here, it's not that you are combative, it's not that you're mean, it's not that, but like, it's like the moment someone crosses you, they lose you in. Because you have also a lot of public favor. Like people are always going to be on your side. Like you got overall support. It's almost this social annihilation when somebody crosses you. Because you have a lot of power socially. Like again, because you're beautiful, like people really see you as this kind, open person, right? And they don't really understand that, yes, you are open and kind and accepting for who is deserving. You're not gonna accept, yeah, bad people. You're not just gonna accept people like that are just there to take advantage of you and hurt you. I think again, I think you also have to learn these boundaries because I think to the core of you, yes, you are a very loving, unconditional, accepting person that has, for example, less preconceived notions, that has less stereotypes, that has less judgment for others. I think you are also a person that has to learn to not judge yourself so you don't judge others. You have to learn how to love yourself to be able to love others, right? But the thing is, you are not going to take any BS because you will learn across life that you need to protect yourself. You learn across life that for you to be able to keep being this beautiful flower that is loving, accepting, and kind, you need to put strong boundaries. That's the only way you can keep maintaining this mindset. Otherwise, if you don't have the boundaries, people are just going to take advantage of you to the point that, yeah, you become like a different person because of all the trauma that you would endure if you did not have boundaries. I think, yes, people assume first that they can mess with you because of your kindness and openness, and also that you are naive. Like, and I think you are actually very smart. Like, they really assume that they see you as a most infantilized version. It's like you are a pure child. Like, that's almost how they see you. Like, they see you almost like a child, not because you're immature, not because you're not intelligent, because of your kindness. Like, I think your kindness comes through like childlike and pure and quote unquote innocent. And people think that they can take advantage of you, but they can't. Get real surprised by that. I'm almost shocked. Like, they're almost going in a state of shock when they realize that they cannot take advantage of you and actually were way smarter than they perceive you as. And I think this being perceived this way kind of works in your favor because one, you have public favor, and two, it kind of protects you because people don't assume that you are as wise and smart as you actually are. People don't assume that you've been seeing them the whole time and you were like, you know how they are the whole time. Also, I think these people are pissing me off now. I also think people like because you are so kind, so accepting. People feel entitled to you. So when you reject them, they are like, no, you can't reject me. Like, you are open and kind. Like, you need to accept me. I'm like, these people are making me angry now, Balto. I'm sorry. What do people assume about my Balto when they first meet them? They might also assume that you're rich, because I think, again, they are taking your kindness and your acceptance as like someone that has not been through anything in life, because they assume that like bitter people, they assume, like, imagine the people, earth people, right? That's the saying, basically. We're not in reality. We are all hurt. If you hurt others, it's kind of because that's who you are. Like, there are a lot of people that have been hurt in life, and they make a choice not to hurt other people. We all been hurt. Life has not been easy for anyone, right? And that kind of saying of hurt people, I get why that exists. I get kind of logic, but at the end of the day, we have choice and we have free will, and we cannot just justify our actions through our trauma. Like, yes, we all been through trauma. Life has not been easy for anyone. Of course, there are degrees of easiness and hardship, right? At the end of the day, it's a choice to be like to hurt other people. At the end of the day, you have a choice. Of course, maybe you have those impulses and that's all you know and that's all you thought. Of course, but at the end of the day, you still have a choice. There is a lot of people in the world that have been through a lot and they've turned out the most kind, loving, and accepting people because they know what it's like to be hurt. So they know what it's like to be hurt. So when they're not doing that to other people. I think that's you. You know what it's like to be hurt, so you're not going to hurt other people. That's why I don't quite agree with like hurt people. I understand the logic, but I don't think this is justification for bad behavior, right? And I think that's what people assume. They assume someone that is kind of accepting that life was easy on them because of this logic of quote unquote hurt people, because they themselves justify their actions through their childhood. It's like mistreating people your whole life and saying that happens because they have a bad childhood. Hey, well, most of us have a bad childhood. Most of us have difficulties. That is not a justification, an excuse to hurt people, right? And I think that's the way they think. And because you are kind and accepting, they assume that you live in privilege and basically that you don't have like life experience and wisdom. And yeah, that's not the reality. People also assume, too, that you're a very patient person. That I think you are. But I'm getting this vibe. These people assume that you're gonna wait for them. Because again, it comes back to that stereotypical view of kindness and someone being kind, that you're basically gonna be. I got the English expression, but it vanished from my mind. That you're basically gonna let people do anything to you and you're gonna wait for them, and even if they're giving you crumbs, you're gonna accept. When in reality, no, that's not what is going to happen. And people also might assume that you are perfectionistic because there might be something about how you look there is very, you might always be put together, like hair in place, makeup in place, like skin in place, skincare, clothing. Like there might be something about you that is very like put together, and people might assume that you are perfectionist. People might even assume that you are a Virgo. I got that randomly. What do people assume about my pal number two when they first meet them? And I'm sorry, pal number two. I think yes, you're very kind, loving a certain person, but I'm sorry that people try to take advantage of you, basically. People might also assume, this is random, that you have daddy issues. Okay, this is very random. They might assume that you are even a man hater. interesting. Like, I'm trying to figure out where this comes from. I think maybe, imagine, I think maybe you feel more safe with femininity, like maybe you feel more safe around women. And if it's not woman, maybe you feel even more safe, like for example, with gay men. Like, you might feel safer with people that don't follow the traditional, basically, they're not misogynists and not, yeah, that are not misogynists, basically. I think, yeah, and you're right. I think this is, again, I think this comes from the fact that you are protecting yourself and you can smell BS from afar away. And the person comes to you, and this person comes to you, they see you from afar, like super loving, accepting. They're like, oh, this person is going to accept me. Like, imagine a person that is misogynistic. They come to you and they think, oh, this person is going to accept me because they are so kind, blah, blah, blah. They're gonna like open me with open arms, like receive me with open hearts. I mean, they come to you and you present a barrier because you're protecting yourself, duh. Because your kindness is not a weakness, duh. You're not naive, duh. And they might spin it around, ah, it's because they have issues. When in reality, these people that are coming towards you and saying that you have quote unquote daddy issues is because they are like, they are the ones that you are protecting yourself from because they don't have the purest intentions, they don't have great intentions, and then they are spinning around on you because they cannot take any accountability for their behavior, right? It comes back to the sentence of hurt people hurt people. They cannot take accountability for their behavior. They cannot take responsibility for their actions. So they spin around on you saying that you are basically quote unquote rejecting them. That is basically you protecting yourself from people that are going to mistreat you, basically. And they're spinning it around saying, oh, you have like, it's because you have issues, it's because you have trauma, it's because of that issues. When in reality, you are smelling their BS from far away, like from a mile away. You are like, I already know, I see you, I already know who you are, and you're not gonna go into my life because I'm loving and accepting for who deserves it. Let me know down in the comments if you resonate with this message. If you like this reading, give it a like, and if you like this content, subscribe. I do have personal readings, they are super affordable, and they are my first link in description. Bye pal too. Hello pile free. So I chose this card that says, I don't let myself limit myself through limiting thoughts. And it came in reverse. What people assume about you when they first meet you is that you are an overthinker, that also you live a lot in your mind, and that you are a very cautious, pondering person. Like, before you take a decision, you think about all the outcomes. You think about, should I do this? Should I do that? Like, for example, they might even think that you're indecisive, but in reality, you're just thinking about options. You're just being cautious. You're just trying to make the best decision for yourself. They also might assume that you have difficulties living in the present. Like, these people almost don't want you to think, which is kind of crazy. Like, hello, let me think, let me make decisions. The hell? I think to a certain degree, the people that make these assumptions wish that you were dumber than you actually are. They wish that you were less intelligent because I think they even feel a bit threatened by your intelligence, and they feel a bit that they cannot like keep up with your intelligence. They almost want you to think less. Very strange. They, yeah, like, because I'm maybe they're afraid that you're gonna realize something about them. Maybe they're afraid like that you're gonna put two and two together and realize something they've been trained to hide. I think these people are trying to hide something from you about themselves that they are ashamed of and or they are not proud of, and basically they don't want you to think too much about them. And they could or quote want you to live in the moment, and they might say this to you. They might be people that say like, you should live in a moment, don't think too much about it, let's go here, let's go there. And you just start thinking about options as you should, like, hello, that's why we have brain, right? Is to think. Imagine, I don't think there's nothing wrong with being cautious and thinking. Like, what do you mean? They must also assume that you read, that you are very academic, very intelligent here, very, very intelligent. That you have a lot of knowledge, maybe about biology or like I'm seeing a plant and like knowing all the plant name in Latin, like knowing all the anatomy of a plant. I guess there is a name for that. I don't know if it's biology. That's something like that. Like they might assume that you are very knowledgeable, like in biology, anatomy, anthropology, medicine. They might even assume that you study nursing or went to medical school. I think you give a very intellectual vibe, I guess. You might wear glasses. I'm also seeing glasses and forget the name. You know the pharmacist that wear that white cardigan? Is it a cardigan? I don't know. But that white, not a trench coat, but you know what I mean, that white thing. Like, I don't know, I'm seeing that. Someone wearing that white thing that the pharmacists wear, that the doctors wear, and glasses. There might be something for someone out there. Yeah, people assume that you're very smart, very intellectual. They also assume that they are not as smart as you, that you are smarter than them. And this is kind of like triggering for them. They wish they had your brains. Yeah, you come across as a very intellectual, smart person. Also, like, I think the way of your posture and your body language, it's giving doctor. I don't know how to put this like into words, but what I'm seeing is somebody that looks like a doctor. Maybe they even assume that you have a PhD or you're taking a PhD or you do research, scientific research. There's something about your demeanor that gives scientist, doctor, researcher. I'm also seeing the Antarctica, like scientists studying ice. I don't know what they study in Antarctica, like, you know. They might assume that you've been to Antarctica and to very like uh, no man's land places, very uninhabited places. Interesting. What do people assume about vocabulary? And I think this has to do with your body posture. People also assume that you overcame heartbreak. They assume that you overcame like heartbreak from romantic relationships to the point that you don't even care anymore. Like they assume that yes, in the past maybe you fell in love and you got your heart broken, but you moved on to the point that romance and romantic relationships don't even seem to be a point of interest of you when they first meet you. Again, I think this all comes back to like this assumption. They look at you, they assume a very intellectual person that is like their passions and their interests is in science or studying something, bookworm type vibes. That's where you have your interest. You might come across as a quote unquote nerd, where like your passions and interests are focused on knowledge and information. That's where you fall in love. That's where your passions lie, right? You might also come across as neurodivergent. Like people might assume that you are neurodivergent, that yeah, you're like that you have your hypers, your special interests, right? That's where you derive your passion from and your interest from. Yeah, they see you as someone that as overcome. They assume that at some point you fell in love, but you got over it, and you got over it to the point I experienced this, I done that, I don't care anymore. Like I'm not even looking for a relationship. Yeah, you come for me as not even looking for a relationship. What do people assume about mental free when they first meet them? They also assume that you have a lot of responsibility, that you have a lot on your plate. They assume that you're busy. Like, they assume that you don't have time for them, you're very busy in your like interests and studying and reading books. They also assume that you are a very family person. They assume that you love your family, and you're that type of person that is ride or die for their family, in a sense that um, you're always going to stand up for your family, for your parents, for the family that you're born in. Like, you'll never leave them. You'll be with them forever. They might even assume that you might live with your parents still because of this love for your family. They assume that you had a good family to the point of, yeah, you never wanting to leave them. Like, they are such an important part of your life. That's what they assume. And I think this comes back to a bit of a stereotypical perception of what they assume of you. I don't know why I'm getting that you look like a doctor, and they assume like all your family has the same interests as you. You feel me? It's like you are a doctor because your parents were doctors and they were passionate about it. Because your grandparents were doctors and they were passionate about it. They basically, people assume that your family shares same interests as you, and because of that, you have a strong bond with them because you all share and they can talk to each other and share your interests with each other. That's why they are together. This is like a storyline that people like think about before they meet you, and before they really get to know you and they really talk to you. Like, people are imagining like a whole storyline of your life. Again, I'm seeing someone from a far away, just like envisioning this whole story life about your life. They also assume that you're very successful. You have a very successful, intelligent, doctorish, PhD air. What do people assume about my fellow free when they meet them? Also, the words that you use. I think the first time that people speak with you, I think you have like a very exquisite vocabulary, like a vocabulary that is very knowledgeable, a good vocabulary. As someone that reads, you are the opposite of brain rot, right? And when they first talk to you, they're like, wow, this person seems very knowledgeable. They seem very intelligent just by the words and the way that you structure phrases. People also assume in a certain way that, how to explain, it's not that you don't have boundaries, and it's not that you are a super open person. They assume like that you are a welcoming person. They don't assume that you are like looking to hang out with people, but also that you're not rejecting people. You're not neutral stage that if they come to you, you'll be open to talk with them. It's not that you're making an effort to get to know new people. It's not that you're going around trying to know new people. It's not that. But it's also not rejecting people. If people come to you, you're going to be open to them and you're going to talk with them. Like, they basically assume that you are open to talk with them. Let me know that in the comments if you resonate with this message. If you like this video, give it a like. And if you like this content, subscribe. I do have personal readings. They are super affordable. And they're my first link in the description. Bye, pal free.